Joining me now live from Rome is Catholic News Network Vatican correspondent Colm Flynn. Colm, appreciate your time. What's the mood like over there right now?
Hey, a very good morning from Rome, and it's great to speak to you. You know what? It's a bit of a mix of emotions because on one hand, you have naturally the deep sorrow and remorse at the passing of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. But, you know, we have to be realistic about this. He was 88 years of age. He had served a wonderful pontificate. And so I thought it was very poignant when he was leaving Casa Santa Marta the other day. That's the Vatican guest house where he decided to live after famously refusing the Apostolic Palace. But Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who is running the day-to-day operations of the Vatican at the moment, because even though we do not have a successor of Peter at the moment, they say in the Vatican that the charity and the work of the global Catholic Church must continue. So he's in charge of running everything that's happening while we're waiting for Pope Francis' successor. But he said, "Brother Cardinals, as we bring Pope Francis from his home into the Basilica where he will lay in state and then have his funeral," he said, "let us thank the great Lord for the many blessings that Pope Francis gave us during his pontificate." And of course, you know, I have to stress, because watching other networks and seeing the coverage, it is a time, because he has just passed, not to criticize Pope Francis, but I think not to canonize and turn him into a saint either, because we have to be realistic. Since I've been covering this pontificate, there were those who celebrated Pope Francis, and there were those also who condemned. You know, many thought that although there were great moments of tenderness and humanity as he travelled around the world, he knew when to stop the Pope Mobile to embrace someone who was sick or had special needs. He knew when to stop and to wash the feet of prisoners. But other Catholics, more traditional Catholics, and they're not just Catholics in the USA, by the way, despite what the media like to say, these are Catholics across Africa, across Asia, a huge chunk of the practicing Catholics in the Catholic Church. They felt that there was a good bit of confusion and a lack of clarity around this pontificate. So we'll have to see where we go from here when the cardinals meet and they're in the Sistine Chapel, the door locked, meeting in secrecy to elect the next pope. They will have to decide, do they want another pope that is in line with Pope Francis, same type of pontificate, or do they want something completely different?
Look, I guess the next steps will be very interesting to see. Look, Colm, we know that world leaders, including from Australia, we're sending our Governor-General as part of a contingent to the funeral. We're almost out of time, but can you give us an idea about how this service will run on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm standing right beside one of the Vatican walls here. So behind there in St. Peter's Square this Saturday, it really will be a beautiful spectacle event. Now, people keep saying, well, Pope Francis likes simplicity, and that is true. You know, he has a simple wooden coffin. He's been buried in the Basilica of St. Mary Major, not in the Basilica of St. Peter's. But there is nothing simple about a Vatican funeral, no matter who it is for, because this is steeped in rich tradition and church culture. So you will have the cardinals from all over the world. You will have the faithful who are coming. And actually, it's interesting that we expect to have a lot of young people here this weekend, because they were coming to Rome anyway for an event called the Jubilee for Teenagers and the canonization of a young saint. That's not happening, of course, because you need a pope to make a saint, and in its place is the funeral of the Holy Father. So lots of young people already. Just over 50 world leaders have confirmed their attendance. And then, as well as those presidents and prime ministers, you'll have royalty coming as well. So you can imagine the security and the logistical nightmare that this will be, not only for the Italian police and the Italian military, but remember, this is an independent nation state, Vatican City state. So as soon as they come through the city of Rome, these world leaders, and they make it to the gates of St. Peter, once they're in there, it's up to the Vatican police and the Swiss Guard to protect them. So we haven't seen a funeral like this. We won't see a funeral like this since, I think, 2005, when Pope John Paul II passed away. Because when Pope Benedict XVI passed, while it was a big affair, he was a Pope Emeritus, retired Pope. So this really will be a huge event this Saturday.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. And we've been playing some live pictures there of the Vatican. It's just astonishing to see the amount of people going in to pay their respects. Colm Flynn, really appreciate you joining us live from Rome this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.